For months now, we have heard from President Biden and him talking about Bidenomics. Him telling us that things are good. The economy is strong. People are working. Unemployment is down. And everything is going back to normal. However, I just want to address what's actually happening. Because right now, even though President Biden is saying that things are looking great, we are now back to normal. Or in some cases, we're better than ever before. Problem is, there's still a lot of issues out there. And what's happening right now is the Biden administration is pushing forward with certain plans to provide additional benefits and increase wages. And all this stuff could lead to additional inflation. Now, I want to read you this statement from President Biden. He was talking about unemployment, and he wrote that unemployment is now below 4%. It's for the longest stretch in 50 years. He also talked about how wages have gone up, how job satisfaction was up as well, and inflation was down to near its lowest point in over 2 years. That's what he said on Friday. Now, he also said that the United States has one of the strongest job-creating periods in our history. And yeah, it has. But here's the interesting part. Now the Biden administration is stepping forward and trying to do more. Trying to overpromise and underdeliver. Where most people try to, underpromise and overdeliver. But the Biden administration is coming in with a different tactic. We're going to overpromise and hope we can deliver. But in almost every instance, they fall short. For example, student loan debt. President Biden promised everybody they would get up to $10,000 in student loan forgiveness. And yet that was pretty much botched. They had to go back on that. They couldn't go forward with it because it was blocked. So now, about 4 million Americans over the past couple of days have signed up for the SAVE Act. This allows people that do have student loans, well, instead of paying 10% of your income per month to your student loan debt, you'll pay 5%. Your payments will be no more than 5%. That's huge. You also have an additional year. Even though payments will start in October, guess what? You'll have an additional year. You don't have to make payments for 1 full year after October 1st, 2023, because the Biden administration says it won't ruin your credit. They made it illegal. Okay? So, again, that's just going to provide additional income for people. Technically not income, but it lowers their expenses. They can use that money on other things. Whether it's to go buy a house, food on the table, buy medicine, pay off debt, it's really up to you. But that's just one thing. Here's the other thing I want to show you. Look at this. It says Biden's overtime pay proposal is the last thing our economy needs. Employers must speak up. Now, what are they talking about? Well, here's what I can tell you. Ever since President Biden stepped into office, even before that, he's made certain promises. And this was one of those promises that he first talked about this when he was the vice president under Barack Obama. So this has been years. Okay? Now, here's what he wants to do. According to reports, the Labor Department is proposing a new rule that is actually going to increase the salary threshold for overtime pay. By doing this and changing the rule and increasing the income ceiling from $35,568 to $55,068, again, huge jump in pay. If they were to do this, 3.6 million salaried employees would benefit from this. 3.6 million people would see a bump in their income. That's actually pretty good news for you as a salaried employee. However, for the economy, that's where things are somewhat troublesome. Could this mean additional or upward pressure on inflation? The answer is actually yes. So that's one thing I just wanted to bring to your attention, that they are pushing for this. This is something that we could see very soon, but just to kind of give you an idea, it could bring back additional inflation. So we'll see what happens there. And next week, we will have an update on what is our new CPI number. Okay? We will have the new updated inflation number next week. Now, one thing I just want to say is that there's been a lot of talk of additional relief to the American people, for low-income households, to people on Social Security, to people with children, people with student loan debt. The student loan debt thing has pretty much been taken care of for now. And I say this because of this. President Biden has already got 4 million people to enroll in the plan before the start date. Okay? The start date is October 1st. The reason I bring this up is because that's huge. But he has missed a lot of things that he's promised. Just to give you an idea. Okay? One of the things that President Biden promised, he wanted to expand child care and expand elder care. Now, I'm not here to say that he hasn't done anything. I'm just here to say what he's missing. Okay? So, President Biden, let me read you this. Okay? Here's what he said. This was a few years ago. He said, "My child care plan is straightforward. Every 3 and 4-year-old child will get access to free, high-quality preschool like students have here. And low and middle income families won't spend more than 7% of their income on child care for children under the age of 5. Here's the problem. As far as what he's done for the care economy, well, nothing. He hasn't really done anything because during the negotiations of the Inflation Reduction Act, he talked about some of these things. He talked about bringing back the child tax credit payments. There's other provisions in there as well. All those got stripped. Every single one got stripped because the centerpiece for the Inflation Reduction Act, it wasn't to bring down inflation. It's a problem. Okay? So lawmakers actually, they pretty much axed a lot of what President Biden was asking for, especially when it came to the child care and long-term care concerns. So that's kind of where it's at now, because some were saying it's just too costly, and it's putting the issue over onto the American taxpayers. That brings me to the next point. It has to do with Social Security. What we continue to hear is that a lot of the different ideas that lawmakers are coming up with, they can't be done because of what this would do to taxpayers. For instance, President Biden has already promised that he is going to fight for Social Security. He's going to fight for Medicare. He's going to fight for low-income households. He'll fight for the working people. But at the same time, he has made it very clear, families that earn less than $400,000 per year will not pay a penny more in taxes. They will not see a tax increase of any kind. Now, the reason why this is very interesting, because President Biden came out and promised that we're going to see $2,400 per year as an increase to Social Security recipients. He hasn't been able to fulfill that promise. And the reason why he can't fulfill that promise is because where's the money coming from? If we can't increase taxes, then where's the money coming from? Because going after people that make over $400,000 per year, they're barely educated. They have a good team of people. They have a good accountant, a good attorney, right? They have a good team behind them. And they understand how to not get out of paying taxes, but how to legally, by the book, okay, go around it. And that's what we see. So by President Biden saying that, no, people making over $400,000 per year will not pay a penny more in taxes, or making less than that won't pay a penny more in taxes, it's pretty much just saying that taxes aren't going to increase. But in his State of the Union address, President Biden promised, and he pledged, he would block any reduction in scheduled Social Security and Medicare benefits. But if we don't increase the amount of money going into Social Security and Medicare, both will become insolvent. Medicare becomes insolvent in the next handful of years. Social Security within the next 10. So by President Biden sitting on his hands and doing nothing, he is pretty much allowing these cuts to Social Security and to Medicare. So, just wanted to fill you in on what's happening at this time regarding President Biden. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. Being we are 1 year away from the next presidential election, a lot of people are speculating, is President Biden even going to be in the running? Some say, oh, absolutely. And others say, no, he's too old. Even today, Vice President Kamala Harris, she pretty much sided with President Biden and said, no, he's fine. He's fine. He's mentally there. He's able to do this job. Where others say that no, it is a factor. Age is a major factor. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but that is what we know at this time regarding President Biden. If you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.